Hello everybody, welcome back. We are approaching our final unit of the year, and it's a very short mini unit actually. It's mostly review. I might introduce a new concept here and there, but for the most part it's stuff that we have gone over throughout the year, but these are just going to be some topics that we think are very important for you as you move to the next math class next year. And so the first one we're going to do in this mini unit is called multi-step equation review. Okay, and again, a lot of it's stuff that we've done in class. Okay, so first problem here, it says to compare and contrast and explain how we solve these two equations differently. So if you look closely, there is a difference, all right? This is 3x plus 9 equals 6x plus 27 on the left. Then on the right side is 3x plus 9 plus 6x, and it equals 27. Okay, so I want you guys to basically solve both of these as best as you can, and explain how you solve them differently. Explain how they're different. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, do what you can do, and come back when you think you got it. Okay, so if you look at the equation on the left, we have two different sides, the left side and the right side, right? And we have x's on both sides. And if you recall earlier in the year, I told you guys to always get rid of the smaller x value. So this, you have your 3x and a 6x, and between those two, the smaller one is going to be 3x. So to get rid of that 3x, I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides, right? So that will cancel, and 6x minus 3x is 3x. So I bring down everything, and I now have to get rid of this 27. To get rid of that positive plus 27, we've got to do the opposite of that. The inverse of adding is subtracting, so I subtract 27 on both sides. A positive 9 minus 27 is a negative 18, and it equals 3x. So my last step, to get rid of that 3, I'm just going to divide both sides by 3. Negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. So x equals negative 6 on my left. On my right side, the difference here is that my two sides, I have my x's on the same side, on my left side. Okay, so I don't have any x's on my right side in this problem. So I'm just going to combine like terms first. 3x plus 6x is going to give me 9x. That's how I get that 9x, and then plus 9 equals 27. I subtract 9 on both sides, I get 9x equals 18, and then therefore x equals 2, because I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Okay? And that's it. That's how you do those two problems differently. So the left side, we had to get both x's together on the same side, and on the right equation, the x's are already on the same side, so all I had to do was combine like terms. Alright, let's move to the next problem. And this one, we are going to distribute, right? So we have, anytime you have a number in front of the parentheses like that, right, that tells us that we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply that 3 into both terms in that parentheses. And again, this is something we've done many times before. So I want you guys to go ahead and I did that first step for you, or I guided you or showed you how to do it. I want you to actually try to solve this problem. So pause the video and come back when you're done. Okay, so once we distribute that 3, I'm going to get 6x, 3x times 2x is 6x, 3 times 2x is 6x, and then 3 times 4 is a negative 12, right? So now we're at this stage here where I have variables on both sides, and I want to get rid of the smaller one. The smaller one is that positive 4x. To get rid of that positive 4x, I just have to subtract 4x on both sides. And then there, I get 2x minus 12 equals 8. To get rid of that negative 12 now, at this point it's just a two-step equation. So I get rid of that negative 12 by adding 12. And then on my right side, I get 8 plus 12 is 20. So I get 2x equals 20. Divide both sides by 2. I get x equals 10. Now, notice this question says solve and check. So I have to check my answer. If x equals 10, I'm going to have to plug it back into my original equation. Everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 10. So there's an x right there, and then there's another x right there. Okay, so this is how you know you're doing something right if you're taking a test, right? If you're ever unsure about your answer on a test, all you got to do is plug in the answer you got and see if the left side equals the right side. And if it does, then you got it correct. Okay, so you got to make sure when we're doing this, it could be a little bit tricky. You just got to work within the parentheses. Start with the innermost parentheses and then work outwards. Okay, for example, this technically should be brackets because you don't want to have two parentheses within each other. So within my bracket, my green parentheses or my green brackets, I'm going to multiply 2 times 10. So 2 times 10 is 20 minus 4 equals, my right side, 4 times 10 is 40 plus 8. Okay, so now let's go back to the left side. I have to solve what's within my brackets first, my parentheses, right? We're following the order of operations. Brackets work just like parentheses. They're grouping. It's how you group numbers together. So 20 minus 4 is 16, so I get 3 times 16. I just change it to parentheses. On my right side, 40 plus 8 is 48. And then 3 times 16 is 48. So 48 equals 48. That means I got the right answer. That's how you know we got the right answer or not. Okay, let's move to the next problem. Now this next problem is pretty similar to the previous problem, right? It's almost identical, but the difference here is I have to distribute on the right side as well. Okay, so again, go ahead and solve this problem, and when you're done, check your answers. Okay, pause the video when you come back. Alright, so let's look at the work that I have in green first. And on this problem, once again, I'm going to distribute that 3 into everything inside the parentheses. 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times negative 4 is a negative 12. On my right side, I'm going to distribute the 2. 2 times 4x is 8x, 2 times 8 is 16. And then at that step now, again, you see x's on both sides. I'm going to get rid of this smaller x, which is a 6x. I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides. 8x minus 6x equals 2x, and I bring down the negative 12. So make sure at that step, I'm bringing down that negative 12. This is a common mistake where students would just bring down a 12. You got to make sure you carry that negative down as well. Okay, and so I'm at this step right here now. Right? And at this step, it could be a little bit tricky because students tend to want to bring this negative 12 over and get rid of that. But you don't want to do that. If your job right now is to isolate x to get x by itself, that means you got to get rid of this 16. You got to move that to the other side. So I'm going to add subtract 16 to both sides, and then negative 12 and a negative 16 gives me a negative 28 equals 2x, and therefore x equals negative 14 because I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So if that's my answer, I'm now going to check, right? And I'm going to plug it in everywhere I see an x. So right there and right there. And you just got to take your time when you're checking here. So 2 times the negative 14 is negative 28. Negative 28 minus 4 is a negative 32. 3 times the negative 32 is negative 96, right? Move to the right side, I have 4 times the negative 14 is a negative 56. Negative 56 plus 8 is a negative 48. Times 2 is negative 96. So you see negative 96 equals negative 96, and that's how you know you did it correctly. Alright. So this is, again, it's just another variation of the same type of problem. It gets, as you can see, it just gets more and more complicated. But if you follow the rules of the order of operations, you should be good. Alright, so go ahead and attempt this problem. You still want to think of PEMDAS if you want to, the order of operation, right? You're going to do parentheses, exponents, multiplication / division, and then addition / subtraction. Okay, so attempt this problem, pause the video, and come back when you are done. Alright, so for this problem, it can get a little bit long here, so I've color-coded things. Just make things a little bit easier for you guys to follow. So first step, so I have that 3, I'm going to distribute it. I get 6x minus 12, and then notice this minus 10x is right there. Alright, on the right side, I distributed the negative 2, and I got negative 8x minus 16. And then, so my next step, if you look at my left side here, would be those two x terms. Right, so I'm combining like terms here. A 6x and negative 10x gives me that negative 4x, and everything else I just bring down, right? The minus 12 and then equals negative 8x minus 16. And then from there, I have two x's on both sides, and again, which x do I get rid of? Well, the smaller x value. Which one is smaller? This is another common mistake. People may think that negative 4x is going to be smaller than the negative 8x. That is wrong. The smaller number is the one farthest to the left on the number line. Okay, and so the negative 8x is going to be the smaller one because it's farther to the left on the number line. So to get rid of that negative 8x, I just add 8x on both sides. And then I'm going to get 4x minus 12 equals negative 16. And then I'm going to get rid of that negative 12 by adding 12 on both sides. And I get 4x equals a negative 4. Divide both sides by 4. X equals 1. Okay. So for time's sake, I'm not going to check this, but you guys can do this on your own. Go ahead and check that problem. See if you guys got the right answer. Okay. Let's move on here. Now we have a problem with fractions, and notice that both of these equations here are slightly different. So again, compare and contrast them. How would you solve this differently? Okay. If you recall, in the past we talked about fraction blasting, how I would get rid of those fractions. So pause the video and see what you can come up with. How would we solve both of these problems? See what you guys come up with. Okay, so the problem in blue here, this x plus 4, it's a binomial. It's together. Okay, and the reason why we know this together is because this fraction bar is underneath both the x and the 4. So you can't really separate that. So what we can do, if we wanted to, we can rewrite this as x over 3 plus 4 over 3. Because that 3 goes into the x and it goes into the 4. So if you want to think of it like that, to help you understand it, that would certainly help. Whereas the right side, we just have the 3 underneath the x. Notice there's nothing underneath the 4. Okay, so those are the two main differences. So how will we solve them differently? Well, there's a couple ways you can solve them. You can fraction blast, which is what I would recommend. In fact, I'll probably just stick to that method. Okay, so if I fraction blast, remember, this is one term. This is one binomial, I should say, not one term. One binomial together. I can fraction blast. If you recall, to fraction blast, you're going to multiply something that will cancel out that 3 in the bottom. And the only number that will cancel out a 3 in the bottom, if I multiplied it, would be a 3 on the top. Okay? And so, because I multiplied the left side by 3, I've also got to multiply the right side by 3. And here's what I can do. When I multiply by the fraction blast and multiply that denominator, cancels with my numerator. So all I have left is that x plus 4 equals 15. Okay, and then we subtract 4, x equals 11, we're done. Easy peasy. Okay? And that's easy only because we knew how to fraction blast. Right? You could have solved it a different way and it would have taken a lot more effort. Now, let me rewrite it the other way that I was telling you about. X over 3 plus 4 over 3 equals 5. Now we can do the exact same thing, right? My lowest common denominator is still going to be a 3, so to fraction blast, I'm still going to multiply every term by 3. But now this is its own term as well, so I'm going to have to multiply that by 3, and then I've got to multiply my right side by 3. Okay, so when we do that, This is just another different way to do it, right? You're going to get the same answer. So the 3's on my first fraction cancels. 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. My second fraction also cancels. So that cancels. All I have left is an x, plus all I have on the second term is a 4, equals 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, and once again, I just subtract 4. 15 minus 4 is 11. Same exact answer. Okay, so let's go to the problem on the right. I have 3 in the denominator, so I'm going to fraction blast. I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Just like that. Okay, so that cancels. I get x plus, now I have 3 times 4 is 12, equals 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract both sides by 12, x equals 3. Alright, so that's challenging. Make sure you guys know the difference in how to solve that. And this is going to be our last problem for today. We have an equation here with fractions on both sides, and the problem is the denominator is different. One, the denominator is a 2, the other one, the denominator is a 4. So, if you were listening closely earlier, I said to multiply by your lowest common denominator. Lowest common denominator is a number that both that 2 and that 4 will go into. They're multiples of the lowest common multiple of a 2 and a 4. So if you want to think, a lot of you guys might say, well, 2 and a 4, 2 times 4 is 8. That's going to be your lowest common denominator. It's not 8, right? 8 is a common denominator, but the lowest common denominator is going to be a 4. Because 2 goes into 4 and 4 goes into 4. Because 4 times 1 equals 4. So if 4 is my lowest common denominator, I want to multiply everything by 4. Okay? So I want you guys to pause the video, multiply everything by 4, see what you guys come up with. Okay? I'll come back when you guys are done. Alright, so we multiplied everything by 4. 4 times 1/2 is 4 halves, right? And then my next fraction, I canceled the 4's, one on the top, one on the bottom, so I have 3 times x, which is just 3x, plus 4 times 3, which is 12, minus 4 times 2x, it just is minus 8x. From there, I'm going to combine like terms, because these x's are both on the right side, they're on the same side, so I just do 3x minus 8x gives me a negative 5x, plus 12, and then my left side, 4 over 2, turns into a 2. Okay, so again, at this point, two-step equation. It should be easy peasy. We're going to isolate x, so I'm going to get rid of that plus 12 by subtracting 12 on both sides. So on my left side, I get 2 minus 12 is a negative 10, equals a negative 5x. To get x by itself, we've got to get rid of that negative 5 that's multiplying it. So I'm going to divide by negative 5. And on the left side, a negative 10 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 2. Right? Negative divided by negative is a positive. There is your answer. If you want to check your work, by all means, please do. So, again, we just want to, if you want to recap, we were just solving equations. We're distributing on both sides of an equation. We're combining like terms. And then we learn how to fraction blast or with a more complicated an equation. Okay? That wraps it up for today, guys. Please do the homework. That's posted on my HiQ page. And if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email or set up an appointment or stop by the Google Meet. All right, have a great day. I'll see you guys soon.